I personally think that staying in your comfort zone is an illusion. I think that what I've seen in my life so far in my journey that is played out to be an illusion. It's something that seems safe in the time. It's something that seems like it makes sense at the time, and you rationalize it in your head, and it's something that's presented as a way out of an opportunity that doesn't have any consequences.
Take it from me someday. We'll
I
all
truly believe that a well crafted story
be
has a chance to
free.
impact athletes and brands and people
Just
all over the
stay
country
at
to
me
unite them.
someday. We'll all be free.
On this episode, I wanted to break that down, actually dissect it, look at what the illusion actually is and what's behind that illusion. What is that illusion and kind of debunking it. Let's talk about what the illusion is. And I think there's three main things that kind of represent the illusion of comfort. And the first one is a big one. It's something that I've felt the most. And it's that what we do doesn't matter. Meaning our actions that we take every day, the thoughts that we think, the places that we go, the people around us in our community, like it doesn't necessarily dictate my life. It's not something that is going to change my life. A good example of this I can look at is just you're eating fast food every day and you're not thinking that it's going to affect your body. And I know it sounds dumb. Like when I say it out loud, it sounds like stupid, to be honest. Like when you do something for yourself or not, that's either good or bad, yeah, it leads to a certain result. And we all know that, but at least I can say for myself that there are times where because the result of those bad choices are not shown, the choices of staying comfortable are not seen immediately and very fast. I think sometimes it's easy to think that, what I do today doesn't matter. Or it's maybe you're just a place in your life where you don't feel like you have control over your life. And it's easy once you feel like you don't have control over your life to think that, what you're doing, the work that you're putting in doesn't matter, or you're not seeing results. And you just start to just, okay, like nothing in my life that I do, that I put work in, it will reap results. And I think once you get into that mindset, it's easy to fall into the illusion of nothing really matters. The work that I put in today won't dictate my life in the future. And that's something I've struggled with. And it's something I have to remind myself because it's easy when we talk about food because we all know that. When it's talking about your career or work, I know a lot of people have been stuck or been in a place where it feels like they're putting in work, but nothing's changing. And once you get to that place, I think it's hard to continue to keep yourself inspired and motivated to continue to put in the work. It's if you went to the gym every day and didn't see any results, it may be hard for you to continue to keep going up and showing up for yourself every single day. And I think it's not that the results won't show, it's just that results show differently on different timetables for everybody. And so what may work for someone immediately doesn't always work for someone else immediately, or just sometimes it's the industry we're in, or sometimes it's what we're doing. Sometimes it's a multitude of factors that could lead to this, but I say this to say that's a huge illusion. It's a trap that I've definitely fallen into. The next one is more about going out of your comfort zone for something like taking a risk or taking a chance, like starting your own business or moving to a new city or starting this new job or quitting your job, starting a new relationship or ending an old relationship, whatever it might be. One illusion in this kind of area is thinking it's too risky and what if it doesn't work out? And this totally makes sense. I think it's human nature to protect yourself. I think it's human nature to not want to be risk averse, to not put yourself in situations where you'll get hurt, not put yourself in situations where you're in the unknown and don't know where to go next, or put yourself in a uncomfortable situation and where you don't feel maybe things are not as easy. Like we as human beings, we don't want to put ourselves in those type of circumstances. And so when you think about it, it makes sense for us to want to think about those things. And I think there's nothing wrong in thinking about the pros and cons of a situation, but I think we don't want to live in fear. And that's an illusion of always thinking from the negative perspective of what if it doesn't work out? What if something doesn't happen? What if, or thinking something does happen, that's the worst fear that we can have in our minds, and not thinking about what could happen on a positive note or the positive things that can happen. And I think, yeah. And so sometimes we can let the illusion of fear to keep us comfortable. And one of the last illusions is, who gave you the audacity? Who gave you the green light? Who do you think you are to wear clothes like this, have a job like this, start a business, live this particular lifestyle? Like, who gave you the permission? And I think this is more so, I guess, the illusion of, maybe it's the illusion of self doubt, like not believing that you should be the person, the one to live the life that you want to live. I think that a lot of times, and I know for me, I've always felt like, for example, like I've had times, I love fashion, and I had times where like I'll put on this out there outfit, like I think it's cool. What are people going to think about it? And you start to live your life based off of other people's thoughts of you and the perception, and also like your perception of yourself. You think that you're not supposed to be the one. Like, you think the only people that should dress like this are famous people or people on TV or whatever. And it's, no, I can dress like this because I'm worthy. I'm capable of doing the same thing, not because someone else gave me the permission. I think that's the thing, is that's illusion. It's just waiting for someone to give you the permission to live the life that you want to live. Just don't wait on someone else to give you permission. Don't even wait on yourself to give you permission. Just do it. Start doing the things that, you know, do the things that you want to do and that you desire to do, that are good things. And even if it feels a little scary, do them anyway, because I think the practice of itself, just doing it, even if it feels uncomfortable, there's a lot of growth in that. So now that we've named these illusions, let's talk about why do we fall into these illusions. Number one is our human nature. I don't think our minds, the way the human mind works, does not want us to live a life where we put ourselves in any type of uncomfortable situation, anything where we'll feel maybe stressed out or worried or anxious of what's to come. We want to know, we want to have certainty in our lives. We want to know, we want to have certainty of what's next and what we're doing. And when we don't have that, when we have a situation where, I guess our, when we don't have that, our, I feel like our mind freaks out. Our mind is not in the business of pushing us to where we want to be. Our mind, our brain is in the business of protecting us. And I think that's important to understand. Yeah, it's a daily battle to fight your mind. It's a daily battle to fight human nature in your mind that wants to keep you safe. And so this is, I'm pretty sure everyone's human nature. Some people have a little bit more tolerance towards uncomfortability, some people have a little bit less. But regardless, I think it's important to know that the reason why it feels so icky sometimes to live a life outside of your comfort zone is because our mind is meant to protect us. And that's why we start to have all these thoughts and all these fears come up when we start thinking about doing this, having this dream, having this goal, going to this place with these people. And our mind gets scared sometimes. We start to live in fear because our mind wants to protect us. The other reason why we fall into this illusion is that we lose sight on who we are and where we're going. If you're in a state and time in your life where you don't know where your next steps are, you may be feeling a little lost. You don't necessarily have any like major goals that you're pushing towards, or don't know the goals that you should be pushing towards. And I've been in this situation. It's easy to fall the traps of comfortability, because what are you actually pushing? Why are you getting uncomfortable? For what? For who? To go where? So I think when you don't have a good idea of who you are, like if you forget who you are and your identity, because at the end of the day, you want to live in accordance to who you are and your identity. And it's easy to get off that track it's easy to get trapped by comfortability when you lose sight of that. So now that we broke down what it looks like to live a life of uncomfortability and what the illusions are of living a life of comfort and why we fall into those illusions, let's talk about what is on the flip side of things. Let's talk about what does it look like to live a life of uncomfortability and why we should make that our goal. So, what does it mean to live a life where you're living outside of your comfort zone? I think it means taking risks, taking on challenges, pushing yourself beyond where you are now, even facing your fears, not putting yourself in position to still be rejected. I think all these things are, to me, ways you live in a life of uncomfortability. And this looks like chasing your dreams, becoming the person that in alignment with the person that you believe that you are. The second thing I think it is living a life of your full potential. I think when you're living outside of your comfort zone and you're pushing to a goal, to a place, trying to become the person, the best version of yourself, you're living out your full potential. You start to drain all of this, every inch of potential out of you because you're actually pushing yourself beyond where you are now. You're getting all the skills, all the talents that you have, and you're using them. And when you're actually using these things because you have to, you're using them because you're put in a position where you feel like you have to use them because the only way to get to where you want to go in life is you have to use the skills that you have. You have to use your hidden talents. You have to push yourself in ways that otherwise you wouldn't. And a byproduct of that is living at your full potential. And the last thing, choosing long-term growth over short-term, over instant gratification. When you choose to live a life outside of your comfort zone, you are constantly choosing to invest in yourself. I think you're choosing to, yeah, invest in your future self, invest in the person that you are to become. And I think it's important to look at it that way because you may not see it now, but it will show up. I believe that the things you do today will show up tomorrow. And I think that you have to believe that. I think you have to know that. You have to trust that. And why should we live a life outside of our comfort zone? What is the benefit of doing that? I think it's one, reaching your goals. I think if you want to reach the places that you set out for yourself, which you should create goals high enough where it's a reach, it's hard to get there. If you've set hard goals for you in your life, and I believe a lot of the people listening are because a lot of you guys are really ambitious and driven, I think that to reach those goals, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. And that's why you should do it because that's what's going to help you get to where you want to go. And if you don't, then you won't get there. And I think it's just that simple. Another thing is it allows you to become the best version of yourself. Like I said just a little bit ago, it allows you to live in your full potential. And one of my goals in life, regardless if I achieve any of my goals that I set out in life, I know if I become the best version of myself, if I become the most disciplined version of myself, if I become the most generous version of myself, if I become the most skillful, if I work on my skills, I become the most skillful version of myself. If I become the most peaceful version of myself, I know that I did a good job in life. And I think that if I do those things, the results, my goals in life will take care of itself. But when you live outside your comfort zone and you reach for these things, you will become the best version of yourself, which is just a positive. Who doesn't want to be their best version? Who doesn't want to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I know that who I am right now, I'm the best version of myself. And I guess you don't want to look at it as that I have no growth, but who I am in this moment, in this time period, I'm doing everything that I can to be the best version of myself. Who doesn't want to say that? I think everyone would be satisfied. Everyone would love that. And I don't know who wouldn't want that. So now that we talked about that and what is it like to live a life outside of your comfort zone and why we should decide to live a life like that, let's talk about how to not fall into this delusion of comfort so we can actually live this life that will lead to success, that will lead to us living a fulfilling life and a life of discomfort. If you don't want the illusion of comfort if you don't want to fall into the loop of comfort, I think you have to, number one, review your goals, set a plan, have a plan in life. Sometimes this can be the hardest step because it's not always easy knowing where the next step is. I've struggled with this for someone who is very ambitious. I've also had times in my life where I don't know where the next steps are in my life. I don't know where I should go next. I don't know where God's calling me next. And I'm just struggling in that area. But I think it's so important to have something that you're moving towards, a goal that you're moving towards, because having that goal will allow you to push yourself out of comfort. I think it's so hard to not allow yourself to be comfortable when you are not pushing towards anything. And I just believe that. And so if you don't want to live a life of comfort, set goals or at least have a direction, have somewhere that you're trying to go that's greater than where you currently are. Know that it requires a different version of yourself, whatever that might be. Have trust that the work that you're putting in today will have results. Believe that the work matters. Believe that what you do today will show up tomorrow. And it may not show up, obviously, tomorrow is a metaphor, because it may not actually show up tomorrow. It may be months down the road. It might be years down the road, but it will show up. The work you put in, and it might show up in a different way than you expect. But there's no doubt that doing it over and over again, whatever the practice is, whatever you're doing, whatever your goal is, if you're working towards it every single day, you will reap what you sow. I actually have, let me get it. I actually was reading a Bible verse about this earlier this week, and I just want to share it with you guys. And it really was funny enough because I was thinking about what I wanted to say in this episode, and I read across this verse, and I was like, I need to share it with you guys. It's in Galatians 6, and it says, "For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Obviously, the verse is has a spiritual lens that Paul is speaking about there, but that's something, a principle that we can take into this life, because I think it's the same principle. I think that principle of you reap what you sow is real as long as you don't give up. And I think that don't give up is the hardest part, because I think it is a journey. It's something that doesn't show up instantly. And I think we got to practice getting out of instant gratification and getting into the process and focusing on just the journey of living in life outside of your comfort zone, and allow that to transform you. Focusing on the transformation and the good habits, and knowing that it will lead to growth at some point. And then the last thing, probably the most important thing, is remember your identity. Remember who you are. Live life in accordance to who you think you are. If you think you're creative, create. Find ways to create if you're an artist or a creator. It's like anything else. If you're an athlete, you're going to work out. You're going to constantly do it. You're going to do it over and over. You're going to practice. You're going to find ways to get better at your craft. And if you see yourself as somebody who's hardworking and ambitious and disciplined, then you have to do those things. And a lot of those things require you to get outside of your comfort zone. And so remember who you are, and don't forget that, because that's really important when it comes to becoming the version of you that you want to become. And so I want to leave us on one thing, because I want us to find ways to make this practical. Find one thing, just one thing that you can do this week that makes you uncomfortable. Whatever it is, it might be waking up earlier than you normally do. It might be working on a certain skill set an hour each day, something you normally don't do. It may be going up to a stranger, if you're an introvert like me, and just talking to someone or introducing yourself to someone. Whatever it may be, like in a gym, pushing yourself a little bit more than you would. I don't know what it is. Everyone has different goals and different aspirations in life right now. But just do one thing that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, and do it for the whole week. One thing every single day for this whole week. I'm going to do it too. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to do it too. And I think it's a great thing to do. I actually have a challenge that I created called the Dark 30. Me and a good friend of mine created called the Dark 30. And one of the steps, one of the challenges is to do exactly that, but for 30 days. Feel free to do it for 30 days if you like, but at least do it for 1 week straight and just see how it feels. Take note of it. How do I feel after this? What did it do for me? Did I see any change or changes in my life? Did I see any changes in perspective? Yeah. What happened from that? And just take note of it. I just have a good feeling that something will happen. So something good will happen. But yes, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this whole episode. I really hope it encouraged you and benefited you along your journey of becoming the best version of yourself. If you haven't, please subscribe. The Unseen Podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. I also post similar content like this on Instagram, so you can also find me there. And yeah, thanks again and peace.
Take it from me. Some